Today it's Sunday and I'm not shaved. At least not in the face. Today I would like to talk about how I adjust my guitar tone that it fits perfectly in the mix. As you may know, there is a crucial difference between equalization that happens in front of an amp and equalization that happens after an amp. Especially if you would like to address some problems that occur in the distortion stage of the amp, like flubbiness in the bass or harshness in a pick attack, you should address your guitar signal before it hits the amp. And in that case, you would use something I would call pre-gain equalization. Today, I would like to talk about the other end of the signal chain, the post-gain equalization. And the post-gain equalization is mostly used to shape the overall tone of your guitar that you will send to the front of house or to your guitar cabinet. For that, I also already prepared the signal chain in the XFX3. As you can see, we have an amp block, cab block, and parametric EQ in front of the amp. And well, it sounds like that. So it's a very mid-focus sound, not too much gain. And yeah, I will just briefly explain things I did already. I was choosing the Friedman HBE Harry Brown I amp model, which is basically a modified Marshall. The cabinet block, I was choosing the 4x12 Recto standard with an SM57 from York Audio. And the parametric EQ in front of the amp is basically cutting highs and lows and boosting the 800 Hz. As you may know, I like the 80s shred guitar tones, and boosting the 800 Hz was some trick that you could use to, well, get in 80s territory. So, for example, if you have a Marshall JCM, you can get more saturation out of that amp by pushing the 800 Hz. And yeah, other than that, I didn't EQ anything, just set the drive of the amp. You can see it's all on noon here. And well, as I said, it's already a bit mid-focus. So I would start by putting an equalizer after the preamp, or in that case after the amp block. And I would, well, start to adjust the mids. Why the mids? Well, in my opinion, the high gain guitars, their characteristics are influenced mostly by the mids. The mid frequencies, in my opinion, are maybe located between 200 Hz and maybe 3K. And I would like to address this frequency region, especially in this video. Because this is, in my opinion, of crucial importance to change the characteristic of your overall tone. And everything below 200 Hz and above 3K is more or less adjustment to the situation. For example, the front of house has a certain characteristics, and also it depends on if you are playing in an indoor environment with maybe concrete walls, concrete floors, then you may have to adjust the presence differently than if you are playing outside somewhere. So we will focus on the mids, the frequencies between 200 Hz and 3K for me. What I like to start if I have a already mid-focus sound is just reducing the mids in a wide bandwidth, and the center of the mids is for me the 800 Hz. So I would reduce around 800 Hz but set the bandwidth a little bit wider, maybe around 0.5. Let's see how it sounds now. Sounds better to me. As a comparison, I will disengage the EQ block. Before it was like that. But as you can hear, it's still a little bit boomy sounding. So that means we have to adjust some frequencies below 800 Hz. And The region below 800 Hz, so between 200 Hz and 800 Hz, usually I refer to it as the boxy region. Because I can show you if I will push the frequencies in this region. Maybe let's start with pushing around 400 Hz. I will push it now drastically to overemphasize the boxy effect. You can hear this boxiness. So we would like to get a little bit rid of the boominess and the boxiness, which is still there. But the thing with the region below 800 Hz is there are some frequencies which are important for the guitar signal and other frequencies which are not so important. For me, the 400 Hz is something which is important, especially for the guitar pitch, the pitch of the note you're playing. You're a lead player and you want that your audience can recognize the melody you're playing and also the notes you're playing, then you need the 400 Hz. I wouldn't recommend to overemphasize it, because then you will, well, you will get to boxy territory, but they're definitely important for the lead playing. So what I tend to do is to reduce other frequencies in the boxy range, which is usually around 250 Hz. Those frequencies, from my experience, they are not so important for the for a good guitar high gain tone. So I would start there and reduce it. Also, I would set the bandwidth a little bit more narrow so that the 400 Hz is not affected. Let's see what. And in my opinion, it's much better. As a comparison, I will set it to 0 again. You can hear. And you can hear it's there, the boominess, and then I will reduce it. Maybe we can set it a little bit lower, maybe 220 Hz. Oh, I dropped my pick, almost. Well, sounds much better to me. Let's have a look at another region, the region above 800 Hz. The region above 800 Hz, so let's say between 800 and 2K, is the honkyness region, in my opinion. So if I emphasize the frequencies there, maybe around 1.4K, will show you it's sounding honky. And it's also something you don't need in a good guitar tone, in my opinion. So I would rather reduce those frequencies than pushing it too much. But in this sound, it's not honky at all for me. So I don't do anything there in this range. The last region is the region between 2K and 3K, and this region is, in my opinion, important for the punch and the attack, especially if you're a rhythm guitar player or a metal player, who is playing very percussive riffs where you want to play together with the drums in a tight rhythm section. And in that region, I would try to push some frequencies, get a little bit more attack and punch. We will start maybe around 2.4K, push it about 3 dB, also in a narrow bandwidth. And as you can see, it's maybe a usable sound. For comparison, I will set it to 0 again. Before it was like that. It's more or less a vintage rock sound to me. I will set it to 3 dB. You get those upper mid-range punch that you find in many metal productions, the Megadeth rhythm sound, for example. It has a lot of those frequencies. So now I addressed some key frequencies which are important for a good guitar tone, in my opinion. So I like to push something between 2K and 3K, reduce something around 200 Hz, and yeah, the overall sound is too mid-heavy. I would reduce a wide range around the center. And if I would like to have more tone, more pitch, then especially in a lead situation, I would push the 400 Hz. I can show you that. Or maybe I will use this knob. I have to set it to peaking. And let's boost the 400 Hz just to show you the impact. For example, this is it without boosting the 400 Hz. It's basically a scooped rhythm tone. If I push it a little bit, maybe 3 dB. You have a much fatter sound, which you can use for leads, singing leads. Maybe I will try to turn on the delay. I don't know which one is here. Maybe I have to switch the scene. So. Maybe it's a little bit. It changed. Okay. So this was our EQ setting. And this is without the 400 Hz. This is with the 400 Hz boosted. So if you want to make your single line, single note lines sing, especially if you are in a high section, I would recommend to boost something around that 400 Hz. Okay, last but not least, I would show you how to achieve the same sound by using a graphic EQ. Because from my experience, a parametric EQ is something which is a little bit difficult to use for people who are not familiar with it. And in the XFX, each amp block has a dedicated output equalizer, which is a graphic EQ. And I like to choose the 7-band EQ there. Why the 7-band EQ? Well, as you can see, they have 8-band EQs, 5, 4 and 3-band. But they all affect different frequency bands. For example, the 8-band EQ has, as you can see, other frequency faders as the 7-band EQ. And I found out that especially for Marshall-like amps, the 7-band EQ is a good choice. So what did we do? With the parametric EQ, as far as I remember, we reduced around the 200 Hz. We reduced something around the 800 Hz. We pushed something around maybe 2 or 3K. And well, still turned off. So without the equalizer, it sounds like that. And now I will turn it on. So let's compare it with our parametric EQ. Turn this off, turn the parametric EQ on. It's a little bit more scooped. And we can raise the overall mid scoop around the 800 Hz a little bit. But as you can hear, it's you get in the same ballpark like with the graphic EQ. So you can do it with graphical EQs, with parametric EQs, but the key is that you know which frequencies have which effect on the guitar tone. And I hope I could help you to clarify this a little bit with the video. So please leave your comments below and hit the like, subscribe button, or send me cash directly. You can call me and I will send you my bank account number. Yeah, well, have a nice Sunday and rock on!